We're going to start the live stream soon. We're going to be on in just a second, guys. Just setting up the last of the details. We're going to be on, and we're going to talk about Conor McGregor and why people think the fight is rigged. Number one, that's the other thing. We're also going to talk about the karma, the karmatic aspect of this whole entire thing, right? Also, something really important to talk about. Um, what else? What else are we going to talk about right here? Yeah, and just overall, how you can't run from karma. All right, so looks like we got about enough people in here right now. Uh, all right, perfect, man. I got the perfect thumbnail for this. Okay. Let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay. All right. Let me turn down the music on this one right here because we definitely got to turn down the music on this one. Okay. So let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Let's just make sure. So let me know if you guys can hear me. Okay. Mic. Okay. So the mic is perfect. All right. So let's get a timestamp going on this one. 5 minutes into this live stream. All right, so 5 minutes into this live stream, we're gonna go at it. All right, 5 minutes into this. 5 4 3 2 1. All right, so I'm gonna be very honest with many people out there. Okay, I don't feel sorry for Conor McGregor. Number one, you guys have to understand that karma is real. And even though we all have our own flaws, we all have our own downfalls. Well, look, I'm going to read to you the following crimes that Conor McGregor has committed, starting with the bus incident in 2018. Let me make sure I still have my audio here intact. Okay, mic check 1 2 1 2. Okay, so the mic is going on. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's just start from the very beginning of it. Okay, so all right, here we go. 6 minutes into the live stream, let's start it out. All right. Shout out to everybody around the world. I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. Okay, I don't feel sorry for Conor McGregor at all. All right, you guys got to understand something. Karma is real, and even though we all have our own flaws, our own downfalls, all right, I'm going to read to you the following crimes Conor McGregor has committed since 2018, starting with the Dolly bus incident in Brooklyn, all right? And your mileage may vary with some of those incidents on what you may notice of a certain pattern from a man who literally just had it coming at this point, okay? Let's start from the very beginning. All right, obviously, there's a Nikita Hand situation that is a little bit concurrent. We're talking about November of 2024 when the Irish High Courts, the jury found Conor McGregor civilly liable. Let me repeat that again, civilly liable for actual assault and rape charges of Nikita Hand in a Dublin hotel back in 2018. Okay, now because the Irish Director of Public Prosecutions initially declined to file criminal charges due to a higher burden of proof. All right, Hand pursued a legal lawsuit. McGregor was ordered to pay around £248,000 in damages and an estimated of 1.5 million in legal costs. All right. So what did McGregor do in the process? He appealed the verdict, but the Dublin Courts of Appeal dismissed his appeal on all grounds, and this is according to BBC. All right. So starting back from the Brooklyn incident of April 2018. All right. Then you go to 2019, the assault at the bar with the elderly man. All right, I'm going to get to your guys' comments in a second, okay? And in March of 2019, McGregor got into it with a fan in Miami, all right? 2021, Francisco Facchinetti, the Italian DJ. And then, of course, the other, here's where this gets really tricky, and this is where you're going to lose some sort of sympathy for Conor McGregor if you're somewhat of a decent person, all right? Other SA allegations he had going on. In Corsica arrest of September 2020, McGregor was arrested and detained by authorities in Corsica, France, on the suspicion of attempted actual assault and indecent exposure. All right, the case was dropped months later due to insufficient evidence. Now, the NBA Miami Finals allegation back in June of 2023. A woman filed a civil lawsuit accusing McGregor of assaulting her in the bathroom at the Miami Heat Center during a game 4, I believe, of the NBA Finals. And Florida State attorney declined to file criminal charges, and the civil lawsuit was voluntarily dismissed with prejudice by the plaintiff. All right, now, this is something that I could sort of relate to right here. How about driving offenses by Conor McGregor? McGregor has been arrested and cited multiple times in Ireland for dangerous driving and speeding without a license and driving uninsured. His luxury vehicles have been impounded by the Irish police known as Garda, and this is according to Rolling Stones magazine, okay? So, once again, it's going to vary how you're going to look at Conor McGregor, right? Now, I want you to imagine, all right? Floyd and Conor were each other's biggest fights. Okay, in less than 10 years later, all right, we're going from August of 2017 all the way right now to August of 2026. Look at where they at right now in their time frame. All right, there's a constant theme that I noticed here. All right, that I noticed online, sort of consistent of this topic of narcissistic abuse and things of that nature, right? Without going into elaborative psychological breakdowns that I've learned out of it, I've learned that, Conor sort of fits many of these descriptions of somebody that is capable of, guess what, inflicting narcissistic abuse, okay? And in these same videos that pop up on your timeline, they also end in sort of showing you what happens to the narcissist in the end of it all, right? What happens to the narcissistic abuser? How does it end? Well, they all end up lonely, broken, alone, and neglected from the years of doing the harm that they've done to others, okay? So here's something you got to understand about Conor McGregor, right? Every action has its own reprisals, all right? Um, this is something that I've also had to learn myself, okay? Now, without disclosing anything personal in my life, one of the examples that I can tell you is one of my speeding tickets, how I was able to beat a speeding ticket from this very same police force that had been trying to go after me, and then out of nowhere, they actually caught me in one charge, and it was a BS charge on like a seat belt, right? So I ended up paying $200, but that loss, I took it to heart. It was still a loss by the end of the day, and $200 is really nothing for me. It didn't change anything for me at all, right? Thinking, okay, you know what? I can't, $200. All right, I could have spent that on sushi money. What's the big deal? I had sushi that day anyway. So what difference did it make, right? But it still felt like a loss, and to be quite honest with you, it humbled me a little bit, right? And obviously a bit of a minute example, but sort of a strong example to that. All right, so there's some important lessons that we can take from the Conor McGregor situation here, right? A very important lesson that we can learn from this. Because number one, he's an extremely influential person, right? You've seen how he influences many athletes doing the little Billy strut. You've seen soccer players do that. You see athletes from other sports do that. Other fighters do that. He also influences a lot of fighters. So his actions matter, okay? Especially with people that are involved in MMA or just sports, period. At this point, maybe even pop culture. So Conor McGregor, as something that you guys have to understand, is a classic story of a man who sort of blew up a little bit too fast, okay? Now, here's something you also got to understand, right? Allah's elevation of a man like Conor McGregor, unfortunately, requires a lot of suffering. And we're going to get into the spiritual aspects of these things, right? Now, this is great that Conor got sober, but Allah may have to require this man to suffer a little bit more and in ways that can sort of cleanse his arrogance, all right? And this is something you guys have to really understand, is that you really have to fear Allah, okay? Because there are consequences to arrogance. I know that as content creators, we come in here, we give you guys a little bit of a story, a little bit of a character, a little bit of a persona, a little bit of some entertainment. And sometimes, yeah, some people are going to come across as rather arrogant, right? And I think that at a certain point, Conor McGregor is going to learn a very valuable lesson in humility in ways that I think I think that it may require him to go through something extremely devastating. And we're going to get to the subject matters of what that is, right? Because I sort of compare this to Ricky Hatton, all right? There's a little bit of an identity crisis going on here, right? I think that Conor McGregor is the type of guy that can't let go of being the man. Once he tasted that, as being the man, as being the best fighter in the world, as the most famous fighter in the world, never mind the best fighter in the world, right? I think once he got a taste of that, he could not let go of it, and he needed more of it, okay? And more of it. And I think that it's going to lead you to the point where, you know what, your original plan, okay, the humble Conor McGregor, his original plan was as it follows, right? I'm going to go in and I'm going to go out. That was his whole entire plan of the game, right? Hey, I'm going to buy me mom a house. I'm going to buy my girl a car for every day of the week, a different color for every day of the week, right? All these aspirations that he had that he is now living. Well, now that he's living this,
uh, he doesn't want to get out. He wants to continue on, and I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on, but yeah. Ali Khan says, man, a lot of people milk the Conor McGregor injury, including MMA Joey, like creating content. For sure, it's a very important topic right now. But think about this, Ali Khan. Do you think that anybody is going to sort of talk about this in a religious manner? Maybe. I mean, I think somebody like Sneeko would make a religious angle out of it, obviously, but he's not really an MMA channel. I mean, he's just a streamer that likes MMA and that happens to also train MMA. But other straight MMA content creators, I don't think they're going to do that. AR says, hi, Kyrie in chat. Are you watching Duplessis and Usman? Okay, so you're going through all these different names. Fury and Wok, AJ and Parenga. Okay, Spence and Sue. Okay, okay. So all these different fights that you got mentioned. Daniel Berry says, hello, everyone. Not Me Ong says, hello. Hi in chat. Um, Mommy and daughter vlogs. Okay, hello. Yes. Ali Khan says you are late. Okay, so there we go. We caught up with the chats on that one. The other subject I wanted to talk about, right? The truth behind his injury. All right. There's been many speculations on Conor McGregor's injury, right? I think there's a lot of falsehoods that a lot of people are sort of spewing out there, and I think that it's sort of important to give the facts on these particular matters at hand, all right? So, first and foremost, let's understand that Conor McGregor suffered a devastating right knee injury, okay? Just 69 seconds, obviously, into the fight, all right, against Max Holloway, and the official medical diagnosis are still pending, but UFC doctors and CEO Dana White suspect a suffered torn ACL. All right, which by the way mirrors the 2013 bout against Max Holloway, where he also tore his ACL. All right. Um, the incident sparked intense speculation regarding whether McGregor entered the octagon with a pre-existing injury, leading to two different narratives on what truly happened. All right, so how did the injury happen? So obviously the opening move, as you guys know, immediately as the fight started, Conor rushed, bum rushed, straight up with a leaping kick, very similar to Van Damme. Oh, I want to represent you, Sadoshi, but you are not Japanese. I will honor you, Sadoshi. Okay, came out there with a blood sport kick and all of that, right? And obviously, the awkward landing that came with it. He missed the kick, landed with extreme force, and slightly flexed his right leg, causing his knee to torque and immediately buckle. So the stoppage right away, McGregor attempted to stay upright through another kick, but his leg gave out entirely. Now, recognizing McGregor was compromised, referee Mike Beltran stepped in, waved it off the fight at 109 of the first round, awarding Max Holloway an injury TKO victory. All right, so the whole entire narrative. All right, narrative number one, the complete freak accident of the official stance. Right, McGregor and his coaching staff and the UFC have strictly denied that there was any underlying trauma heading into the event. Okay, obviously there was a video of him going into a pain relief center. Guys, that is not a doctor in any kind of way. That's where you go get cupping and recovery. That's all it was, right? That video that I showed, that's what I learned out of it. It was just nothing more than a recovery, and and that's that, right? So then McGregor breaks his silence about it, right, on X. McGregor stated that he was beyond dark and described the situation as hell, as he explicitly clarified that he has no injuries going into the fight. He was throwing kicks, planted and jumping all throughout camp, as well as backstage before the fight, and this came out of nowhere. All right, so John Kavanaugh, his head coach, reiterated that the exact jump switch kick that they have drilled for months and executed multiple times during the pre-fight warm-ups, literally with no issue. So what did Dana White have to say about the whole thing, right? He dismissed the whole pre-fight injury rumors as well, pointing out that McGregor cleared all pre-fight medical checks and violently rushed Holloway during the pre-fight press conference face-offs without any signals of having any limp. Okay, and this is Dana White's uh, personal view up close of Conor McGregor. So the narrative number two, all right, the evidence of a pre-existing injury and the medical and fan theories. All right, so despite the official denials, okay, sports medicine experts um, have a slow motion video replays of the broadcast that have led many to believe that Conor McGregor was hiding an active injury. Okay, and the shoe removal stumble is number one. All right, behind the scenes, the footage showed in the Paramount Plus broadcast that caught McGregor stumbling while trying to take his right shoe in the pre-fight inspection area. He appeared hesitant to put full weight on his right leg before entering the cage. Yeah, maybe because he was trying to take it off. And then the whole meniscus theory, by the way, right? Renowned sports medicine doctor Brian Stutter analyzed the footage and suggested McGregor may have entered the fight, by the way, with a pre-existing meniscus tear. Sutter noted that landing from the opening kick likely aggravated a compromised meniscus, causing the knee to lock up and buckle. All right, and this is according to Dr. Brian Stutter of his YouTube channel. All right, so the current status and future right now, right? What do we got so far, right? McGregor left the T-Mobile Arena directly to the hospital. MRI results confirmed a ruptured ACL. All right, so that means a 37-year-old fighter who's facing a grueling 9 to 12-month recovery period. All right, and he's coming off of a 5-year layoff following his previous leg break in 2021. So now he's got the left and the right now broken. Right? This is consecutive catastrophic injury, which places his career in some serious risk. All right? So AR says, I hate McGregor, narcissistic, racist, xenophobic, I mean, wow, okay. Washed, injury prone. He needs to retire. People in Ireland and England love him. I hate the man. I hate the man and his personality. And then Ali Khan says, I am watching Usman right now. Yeah, man, those are some very harsh words to say right there, man. You know, you really feel that way, you know, about Conor. I mean, I don't know, man. You know, but I tell you what, I don't feel sorry for him at all. I don't feel sorry for him at all. I think Conor McGregor had it coming. I think at some point this was going to come. I'm surprised that it came a whole lot sooner, but you know, it is what it is. So let's hear what other people have had to say about you know, Conor McGregor. Yeah, guys, you can't run away from your karma. It's really important to, you know, understand that, right? You know, karma has their ways. And look, I think there is a way where drinking too much can really brittle your bones up, right? And then the aspect of steroids as well has something to do with it, where they say that, well, you know what, maybe Conor McGregor was taking too much steroids, and as a result of that, he wasn't able to recover in the way that he could had he, yeah, but let's hear what Luke Thomas had to say about this, because I know he's got an interesting take. I know that he is a big proponent in, well, I'm not going to say boycotting McGregor, but he voices his opinion on McGregor in a very negative way, and rightfully so, but you'll hear exactly why right here. Let's hear what Luke Thomas had to say about this.
Your phone, lean. Or with the main event, Max Holloway defeats Conor McGregor at 109 of round number 1. Literally on the first kick first strike, really, that he attempted in the entire fight. It happened to be a kick, but the first strike, he plants on his, obviously southpaw, he plants on his right leg. It's like a jumping switch kick, and then he jumps, switches, and I think it was a scissors kick, and then lands on the right to bring himself down, and it kind of buckles, And in real time, it looked like he kind of knee slid and maybe lost his balance, but didn't hurt himself. But then, he tried it again. I think the whole thing was fucked up, and then he got taken to the ground, or at least he fell to the ground. Holloway gets on top and is landing like really almost unobstructed ground and pound. He eventually gets back to the feet and he's limping, and then referee Mike Beltran just waves it at 69 seconds of the fight. An absolute calamity for Conor McGregor. Let me tell you what last night represented for him. The idea that people won't pay big money to see him again is 1,000,000,000% false. Understand, and I made this point on this channel many times, but it really is important to keep in mind, passion and fandom in ways that show up materially, particularly at the box office in combat sports, these things die hard. They die very slowly, they die hard. To that end, Kimbo Slice, it turned out, was literally on death's door when he was in Bellator, and he remains to this day the highest rated, let's say it outright. Kimbo Slice is the biggest star Bellator's ever had. And the real peak of Kimbo Slice came long before.
All right, so yeah, that is true. Kimbo Slice was the biggest star in Bellator in terms of the viewership and the people that had watched him. Yeah, hands down, he was the biggest star of Bellator for sure.
For that, he was on quite literally death's door during that time. And
so what Luke is trying to preface with you guys is that even though he was on death's door, they were still willing to allow him to fight. Okay, so remember that he was still willing to allow him to fight. Do you think that they're not going to allow Conor McGregor to fight after tonight because of this? They're going to allow him to fight. They're going to allow him to continue, and they're going to allow him to suffer even more if it is still lucrative for them, and rightfully so it will be, right? Next fight that Conor McGregor gets into, you don't think that it's going to be lucrative? Absolutely, it's going to be lucrative. There is no doubt about that.
He's still the biggest by a billion miles. Like the popularity that he maintained over time, was it as big as his prime? No, but it was still pretty damn big. And obviously, Kimbo Slice did not have even a fraction of the decorated career that Conor McGregor has, for the most part, had. If Conor McGregor comes back in 2027 to compete, it will be big. Will it be this big? I don't know, but it will still be very big. And surely, if he boxes in BKFC, that's going to do record numbers for them. And I'd also maintain that if he ends up, let's say, boxing Jake Paul on Netflix, it is absolutely insane to think that that's not going to draw a significant number. How big? I don't know. We'll have to sort of see at the time. I'm just trying to point out the idea of him as a box office attraction just evaporating overnight. No, that's really not going to.
Yeah, so that is a good point that I think Luke Thomas is making here, right? I think that a lot of people are saying that, well, he's done. Yes, maybe physically he is done in terms of championship aspirations. We could make assumptions on that, and there can be plausible reasons to believe and to lean in that direction. However, if we're talking about, let's say, a box office draw, I think we're sadly mistaken to think that he's not capable of drawing big numbers, because he is. He is absolutely capable of drawing big numbers, even with a 10-fight losing streak. I mean, take a look at Tai Tuivasa. Is a great example of that. 7-fight losing streak. I guarantee you he's going to have another job for the next fight night somewhere down the road, right? And don't be even surprised that it's a pay-per-view, let alone, just a normal Apex card, right? Because I think at that point, they would probably have to put him in some sort of Australian card, maybe even an Abu Dhabi card. But they're going to continue to let Tai Tuivasa fight till the wheels fall off. BJ Penn was another example of that. And obviously, Kimbo Slice as an example of that in Bellator as well.
Happened. But what I can say happened last night was an extinguishment of the flame of the Mystic Mac identity. That is gone. And that is never coming back. The whole idea that a guy can just manufacture magic, the whole idea that a guy can just call his shots and make it happen, like that hot run he was on, through Poirier, through Mendez, and through all those guys. The idea that you could recreate that and maintain that kind of, that spirit, that flame. No, you could. I mean, yes, you do.
So Luke is making a very good point of that, right? I think that we were expecting Conor McGregor to do Rocky-like situations, right? That doesn't exist in real life, that it only exists in movies. I think that the type of personality and the type of charisma that Conor McGregor had, he made us believe that real life villains in movies and TV shows can actually exist. And if you are, uh, fans of them enough, right, you can make them the baby face of somebody that you want to cheer for, right? In this case, that's exactly why he attracts the question of curiosity, right? The curiosity of, can he beat somebody like Jose Aldo, who was a 10-year champion? That was a question during that time. And now the goalpost and the expectations have shifted a little bit. Well, now it's like, can you still be an elite fighter? And everybody is an elite fighter if you make it to the UFC, but can you be an elite fighter after doing years of drugs? So now he's creating a new sense of curiosity out of his product.
For a while, but like
AR says, how do you do everything about, how do you how do you, I think what you're trying to ask is, how do you know everything about sports and life? I think it's just a matter of interest and where I place myself during life to sort of learn or know about certain subjects of certain matters. I think that's really the best explanation I can to answer your question.
like if there was the lingering hope, I think, by McGregor supporters and maybe even just some to a degree casual fans alike. Although there's going to be obviously some split on that, we'll talk about that in a minute. But there's certainly a sizable portion of the population, let's say, who watches fights and watched this fight, that wanted to see if there was still a little McGregor magic left. There is not. It is gone. It is affirmatively, completely gone. Again, one more time, that's not to say he can't be, and I'm absolutely certain he will continue to be a box office attraction, nor is it a claim that he can't win fights, particularly if he goes to boxing where the integrity of his knees and perhaps other orthopedic concerns.
All right, so all of these things, highly considering, okay? Highly considered.
Are not, they still could be relevant in boxing, certainly, but they're not going to be as relevant in boxing as they are in a grappling or wrestling or even leaving your feet kind of based sport like MMA. So this is not like, oh, he'll never win again, he'll never be popular again. No, he definitely will continue to be popular, and he will certainly, I should say, there's a decent likelihood he could win again, depending on how things go. But the idea that someone can just be electric on command, the idea that somebody can just do something so special and just conjure it up like some.
That's really what it comes down to, AR, right? What you said right there. UFC is a tough sport and hard to keep up to be on top. Correct. And this is why when you can actually do that, you are, in all things considered, a very special person. But there are very few people out there that are that special that can actually do that.
Necromancer or something like, no, that is completely, utterly finished. Gone. If those hot streaks that you see in combat sports like that, I mean, somebody, like Khabib can have an undefeated record, or even St. Pierre, he had losses along the way, but he would have long.
Here we go, right here, AR. AR says it's best to retire on top. Here we go. This is where Luke Thomas elaborates on this right here.
Streaks. But dude, look at some of those fights. Like, he crawled out of those fights on his hands and knees sometimes. In particular, the Johnny Hendricks fight. I realize there's asterisks around that.
I remember that fight with Johnny Hendricks. Yeah, one of the toughest fights for George St. Pierre. And once again, there's a reason why George St. Pierre picked his shots, right? This idea of being a tough guy, just taking on everybody at any time, I get that's how Conor McGregor became famous, and that was sort of his moniker. Anywhere, anytime, anyone. But in reality, it is best to just retire on top, right? Like with Justin Gaethje, for example, right? Like after this White House card, how do you go past achieving any glory beyond being an undisputed champion at the White House? Okay, now remember, this is not a BMF belt. This is not an interim championship belt. This is a full-blown undisputed championship belt awarded to Justin Gaethje at the White House. How do you top that? And in that case, you're right, AR. It's best to retire out on top. That's what Khabib did against him. That's what he has to do against Ilia Topuria, to where Ilia Topuria will never get that back, and Justin Gaethje can sail off into the sunset as the forever champion.
USADA, but you get my point. Like, they don't just go in there and just have magic. You know, sometimes they have magic, and then cumulatively they can do something really profoundly special. But just doing, you know, unexpected, shocking, amazing things like that, and doing them in succession, or just being able to come back out of that and return to that kind of a rhythm when you look like, you know, you're 10 years older than you actually are.
Oosh. Okay, so he said that Conor McGregor looks 10 years older than he really is. Dewey says, bro, what, man, is that a dude that's saying that? You better not be a dude saying that. Anyways, okay, so nonetheless, thank you for the compliment. But okay, so yeah, he's saying he's 10 years older, and how he looks, right? Obviously, that is indicative of Conor McGregor's lifestyle that he has, you know, sort of, you know, self-induced upon himself. Okay, yeah, not cool at all. Not cool at all, Dewey. But on any regard, um, yeah. So, it's not, it's not possible to win all the time. All right. George St. Pierre said it best, right? The idea of being the greatest of all time doesn't exist. You want to know why? Because you can only fight, especially in a sport like MMA or boxing, an individualized sport, you can only fight one guy at a time. All right? And how you perform against that guy is going to determine your ranking, who you're going to fight next, how much money you're going to make for your next fight, or what money you made for that fight, right? That's all that it can realistically determine. Once you reach the pinnacle of getting a shot at a champion, and then you become a champion, then all fair play to you. Um, you know, then you can say, all right, I am the best in the world, right? But in reality, you're only the best in the world for that one night. You see what I'm saying? Like, take this trophy that I won, for example, right, at a Muay Thai tournament, right? You had to probably go through, you know, one or two people in a night. Yeah, you got to go through a couple of people in a night to win, you know, a tournament, right? So fighting different people, you know, obviously, you know, you probably in those types of tournaments fight the same amount of rounds that you do anyway, full rounds that you do with one person at you know, a one fight one night type of contest. But nonetheless, going at it with different people that, you know, have had a different competition prior to you. Maybe they, you know, finished people earlier than you. Maybe you went longer rounds, right? It's a lot of attrition that you have to go through. Now, is it really the idea that you're the best fighter there, or are you just the guy that has the most attrition? And, you know, I always say that that day that I won that trophy, which was in, wow, okay, July 17th, that's coming up. July 17th, 2010, when I won that trophy, you know, it just so happens that I was the guy with the attrition that day to outlast everybody else, right? Yeah, the idea of best in the world doesn't exist, right? This idea that you're going to manufacture magic all the time, that's exactly what Luke Thomas is talking about in this one.
Our dude, it's over. It is over. It is affirmatively, absolutely. It was probably over before last night, but last night was the absolute coffin nails in that idea. That guy is one. You will see him again. He may win again. He may do big box office ratings again or numbers. That guy is never walking through the door again. It'll never happen. It cannot happen. He'll be 38 in 2 days. Right? He'll be
There it is, man. Conor McGregor will be 38 in 2 days. And hey, I'm 41. Not bad. You know what I mean? Not bad for a 41-year-old, huh? You know what I mean? But that's because I don't do recreational drugs. I don't drink, or I don't even remember, the time that I even ate McDonald's, right? So it's just a matter of taking the right choices in life, right? And I think Conor McGregor, yeah. So yeah. Well, thank you for the compliment, nonetheless. I mean, yeah, a little weird coming from you, obviously, but a compliment is a compliment, nonetheless.
38 in 2 days. He looked to me not out of shape per se, because like Rob Whittaker looked to me like a little heavy. Obviously, it's a different scenario. He was Conor was going, I guess, up a weight class too, depending how you want to define the terms of time. But Whittaker was going up to 205 for the first time, 20-pound jump. He looked a little doughy, even though he got the job done, and I thought in the end not too badly. But Conor looked reasonably in shape in that way, but he didn't look like he had.
Yeah, speaking of which, I knew Robert Whittaker was going to do great in that fight, and a lot of people counted him out in that fight. I certainly didn't, and with good reason why.
He didn't look like he had the same kind of fluidity of movement. His face looks puffy. His hair looks noticeably a little bit thinner. There's like the amount.
It's not the same Conor McGregor anymore. Yeah, and he's right, man. Yeah, look, even want me to disclose a little bit something for you, right? Aging is real, okay? Yeah, I'm 41. I look great at 41, but I notice things that you don't, right? That's just what it is. You got to be okay with it, right? You got to understand, like, hey, look, you had your turn as as somebody that was in your 20s or 30s. I had my time in my 20s and 30s. Well, now I'm in my early 40s, right? I have to enjoy what comes with that, unique to what I had when I was in my 20s or 30s, as opposed to what I'm going through or what I'm experiencing right now. Sal says, I love all the crybabies crying rigged. Yeah, man, it's not rigged at all. Not rigged at all. It was an unfortunate incident that happened. I think that Conor McGregor had, for all intents and purposes, the best training camp that he could possibly have. Not only did he have a good training camp, he did the best effort that he can to make a great account of it, right? Even lived in the gym and everything, right? The story that John Kavanagh was talking about with Korean stun gun, amazing. Kind of gives you a little bit of a Rocky 3 feel to it, but by the end of the day, unfortunately, life is not a movie, and that's kind of why the reason people are calling rigged or saying this, that, and the other, because they want a storybook ending. But I tell you why I wasn't really upset the way that other people were. I wasn't upset at all. I was just like, you know what? When you're now an MMA content creator, you now have to think like how the UFC bosses, the president, the matchmakers, how they think and how they move, right? Because how they think and how they move, it goes like this. Okay, Conor McGregor and Max Holloway, checklist. This event is done. Next week is Duplessis and Kamaru Usman. That's how this goes, man. Can you imagine? It's Kamaru Usman and Duplessis next. That's there's not a championship on the line on that, but it's still a worthy card. Now, it's not as big as the Conor McGregor card, but it's still a card worth watching and a card that's going to move the company on, for its own future events, right? Because think about this, right? Everybody always just overlooks the fight nights or the Apex events, but remember, at one point, Sean Strickland had to fight at the Apex, and eventually they built him up to be the guy that's fighting, in Australia, the guy that's fighting in, in New Jersey, headlining against Kamzat. Scandabigo says rapping Oldberg. Well, I wasn't rapping. I haven't been rapping the entire show, have I? If I have, let me know. But yeah, let's continue on with what Luke Thomas is talking about here.
Of just aging that naturally has occurred, obviously, but then how that's been magnified by the way in which he's been living, and it was just so on display. It was immediately visible. I mean, guys, like, you are where you are in life with aging, and this is something I know a lot of young men don't really appreciate. Certainly, when I was a young guy, I didn't really appreciate this, but like, yes, you can be in shape person at 37, of course, and sometimes if you're really, really good about it, you can have great success in sports, professional sports, late into your 30s, but you just can't.
Yeah, look, Luke Thomas is absolutely right about that, right? I think there's a lot of guys out there that have a hard time accepting, them getting old. They have a hard time accepting that. I know a lot of guys that are like that, right? They don't like it, but tough-ish, okay? It's part of life, all right? You're gonna get old. We're all gonna get old. Some of us can, reverse that a little bit, right? Slow it down a little bit, have a good training regimen, live a good, healthy life. But ultimately, even with that, even with how good you take care of yourself, you're still going to notice a significant change, right? A slight significant change, whether it's how you look or, for example, especially for guys that are real metrosexual about it and are, just straight up, into the whole looks maxing thing, right? Like, what is that guy's name? Uh, Cablicular or something? Whatever his name is, the guy that's all big into, looks maxing, right? If you're big into that, you'll notice, every little thing, like, oh, my face is getting a little bit puffier now, or I'm less symmetrical than, I was 10. You'll notice, these little things, right? But overall, please understand, we all age in a certain capacity, and, we just have to be accepting of it. There was a point where in my 20s, I was like, you know what? Wow, this is awesome. Life is great. I am the life of the party. I'm the guy that, sets the tone for everything, right? And then you get older and you realize, you're the calm guy of the group. You're the guy that calms the hotheads down if they want to get into, some sort of like, barroom brawl with, a bunch of other dudes, or, you know what I mean? You change different positions in life. At one point you're the guy that was kicking the doors down, and then at one point you are the commanding officer or the squad leader of, of your unit, right? That's just how things go. Natural change of order of things. Yeah, so something to think about there.
Can't do what he's done, especially with all the other issues he had even during his prime with injury durability. You recall he went into the Mendez fight with a really, really messed up knee, among a number of other things.
And once again, right? So I'm not in the team of believing that Conor McGregor went into this injured, right? I'm not on that team at all. However, I am on the team of knowing that Conor McGregor is highly susceptible to going into fights with an injury and not giving an F. Okay, he's, no pun intended, no, notorious. He's absolutely notorious for that. Okay, and he is. He's absolutely notorious for that. It's what he does. It's what he does, and it's what he is used to doing after a while. Look, it could just be tossed up to the fact that he didn't come in here well prepared. All right. There's a certain calcium that you have to build up, while you're doing continuous training camps after training camps, or calluses that you build up while you are fighting and just constantly, staying interactive. Right? He hasn't built that up yet. Scandabigo says that UFC have a problem with Conor's last fight. They can't sell a hard fight, and also wants to trash the stars when they don't sign a new contract. Best scenario for Conor. I tell you what, right? If you think about it, there are aspects that you can look at and say, you know what, best case scenario, he has one more fight, a fight that is a lot more winnable for him, right? Maybe a Michael Chandler fight. Although you got to remember, right, the UFC is notorious, right? No pun intended. Once again, notorious for giving you hard fights on your way out. Look what they tried to do with Nate Diaz. They were going to give him Khamzat until they changed the last minute and decided they were just going to throw Khamzat in there with Kevin Holland. So, uh, yeah, something to think about. Something to think about for sure, right? Because they will try their hand to give Conor McGregor a very difficult time exiting and perhaps maybe devaluing him because, or you know what, maybe they won't devalue him. Maybe they'll play fairly with him and say, you know what, we really have nothing to lose if you decide to go fight MMA or box anywhere else, right? They may just decide, hey, we as a company have nothing to lose if you decide you want to gain $200 million fighting for Turkey El Sheikh or $200 million fighting for Jake Paul or Misfits.
Live the way he's been living, and then just expect that your body and your integrity is going to the you,
And here's the thing you got to understand about mixed martial arts, right? It doesn't matter what you did yesterday. In all combat sports, for example, look, also, like this right here, all right, winning a trophy in Muay Thai, it doesn't guarantee that I'm gonna go in there tomorrow and just fight an active Muay Thai fighter that has been training for months on out. Right, I had my time where I was doing 25 rounds. I want you to put this in perspective, right? I was doing training sessions where I was doing 5 minutes, 25 rounds. Okay, you imagine the level of sweat that came out of that. That's a 4-hour session. All right, there's a reason why I can move the way that I can move, and the reason why I have skills the way that I have. But yeah, I could probably. This says audio, dude. What's going on? What about now? What about now? Is it a little better? Let me know how the audio is right now. Oh, okay. I think it's doing hold on. All right. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Is it still doing that scrapping sound? Let me know. Is it still making that sound? Let me know how the sound is going right now. Same problem. Okay.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2.
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Okay, so it is that mic check 1 2. And then it went back again, right? It went back in and then it went back on, right? It was good and then is it's doing that same scrapping sound, huh? Okay, hold on. Oh, okay, that's because that one went out. Okay, so this is what we'll do. What about now?
Mic check. Mic check.
Mic check.
Okay, perfect. All right. So hold on, let's go back for a second. Let's see what I was talking about here. Okay, so as I was saying, all right, okay. So I now know I left off where I was saying. Okay, so what I was saying was that there could be a scenario where the UFC is very secure with their position as the leader in mixed martial arts and maybe even the leader in combat sports, if you want to include TKO in that process as well, right? They may be so secure with that reality that, hey, you know what? If Conor McGregor wants to go and make 100 million in Bellator, PFL, maybe even ONE FC, maybe even Jake Paul's Netflix, or just go box or do bare knuckle FC. We're going to let him do it because we're the UFC. We have no reason to be insecure about what Conor McGregor has going on because we have our own thing going on. And as a reward for what he's done for us, you know what? Why not? Why not let him test out the free agency? I would hope that that is the position that the UFC takes, being that they can build some sort of good faith with Conor McGregor on his way out and possibly build a rapport with him in the future, whether that would be some sort of business ventures or maybe even dealing with him in the future with a future fighter from his camp, or maybe even somebody in his family, maybe his son in the future, or I don't know, but that's thinking a little too ahead. But all right, going back to the Luke Thomas video.
Your tools of the trade are just not going to be rusted and weathered and lesser than. He looked diminished to me. Bigger as a 170er than a 55er, or certainly a 45er, but greatly diminished. And more to that point, like, he didn't look to me like he had any kind of fire within his belly either. I know he was talking about that at the press conference, but then you just look at his body and his energy. Like, that's what I mean, dude. You are where you are in life.
All right, so Luke Thomas is going to make an interesting point here, right? He's going to say that you are where you are in life, right? And once again, I talked about earlier how there are many people out there, older dudes, that don't like the idea of getting older, right? Now, look, like I said, there are ways to sort of offset that, right? There are ways to taking care of yourself, right? I mean, look at me, I'm 41. A lot of people don't think that I'm 41, but still, I know what I know about myself. I know there are things that I could do better physically that maybe I can't do before there. Like, for example, certain recovery mechanisms that I may not have, anymore. Right? That's a reality. That's just what it is. That's life. It's just something that you have to expect. And I think there's a lot of people that have a hard time, sort of coping with that. And McGregor is a great example of that. Jay Holy Ghost says McGregor won't fight again. He's 38. It's done. There's a lot of guys out there that are of a certain age, right? But I think it's how you age, and I think we can agree that Conor McGregor certainly did not help himself to age properly the way that he should. So, yeah, I think that's an unfortunate given right there.
Life. And sometimes these powers of biology overtake you by surprise or bring you to a place you never expected. And you can't really fake your way out of it. Like, people all the time, like, they call me Unc and I got gray hair. I am where I am. And I'm not really trying to fight it. Like,
I like that. I like what he said right there. He says, people call me Unc. I have gray hair. He says, I am where I am. I like where I'm at. And you know what? That is great if you are not a fighter, right? If you are in, the world of, office work or corporate settings, maybe that's positive, right? You're the old guy in the break room. You're the OG now of the company, right? You are now placed in certain positions due to your age and experience, right? But in the world of fighting, being the old guy means that you are damn near the prey in the room. And, that's going to take a lot of adjusting for people that are used to being the predators.
had my turn to be in my 20s. I had my turn to be in my 30s. I am where I am. You cannot fight this. There's a certain degree of just kind of acceptance along that. And then that recognition also has to be informing what decisions you make with your life. Like, he honestly shouldn't even be fighting. Like, he made enough money before through 2017 to like not have to do any of this shit again. And yet here he is. There was, to me, seemingly a lack of recognition about him understanding where he is in life and what place he has arrived.
And that is true, right? There are people out there that have a very grave misunderstanding of that. And I'm talking about like those guys that are in their 40s that are still hanging out in the clubs. I mean, what are you doing with your life? In all honesty, right? Like, you're 40 years old and you're at the clubs. It's like, at one point, where do you give up? Where do you give up that life? But some guys just can't let that go. It's just a part of their identity. It's just a habit that they haven't broken, right? They just don't understand that, at a certain age, there's just certain things that you don't do anymore, right? And that's another example of that. But obviously, Luke Thomas is talking about this in terms of MMA, in terms of analyzing Conor McGregor's post-fight career in relationship to post-event UFC 329, right? I'm sort of giving you an example of that 40-year-old dude that you see at the club that just doesn't know how to let go.
And what he's done to do it. There are questions about whether or not he was injured before he ever got to the octagon. To that end, Conor denies it. You can go on his social media vociferously. Oscar Willis, a friend of MK, said he'd seen Conor train like what, all week or something, or for quite some time, and that there was just no indication there was a problem. You can look at the warm-up footage of the back room before getting going, and it didn't look amiss to me. I realize that there is a question of how he just appeared emotionally lesser than walking out and then taking off his shoes. It looked like he was stumbling. But if you watch that video, it's the other knee that looks like he gets a little hurt, not the one that actually got hurt, which was his right knee. So I don't know if he had a pre.
Um, Yeah, that's a strange comment to make. I mean, I don't know if you're trying to be insulting or giving me a compliment, but since you're here and since you're helping my algorithm, I'm gonna take that as a compliment. Your name is Stray Lock. Shout out to Stray Lock. He says, "Hey man, your face is very circular." All right, thank you.
Existing injury. There's a lot of rumor mongering, but that doesn't seem to me, as of the time of this video that I'm making it now, that does not appear to me to be the strongest argument. The strongest argument is that this guy already had injury problems before
All
any of
right,
his depression
awesome.
time
Thank
really took
you.
place. Since then, has lived insanely hard. And New York Times reporting that not only did he take HGH and anabolic steroids to get over the leg injury, but then took it for some time after, because according to their reporting, like the way that it made him feel, that's what they reported. To add on,
So Scandibigo says, Connor, one more UFC fight, then he can run exhibitions for tons of money, easy money. Correct, correct. Best case scenario, right? So it's not like he really took any serious damage in that fight. I mean, other than, of course, the ACL injury, but as far as like brain trauma or anything like that, he definitely, didn't need to, to do yeah, he definitely didn't need to get into anything like that. So that's the positive thing about it. But yeah, man, it all depends on how his next fight is going to look like, I suppose.
God only knows what the drug use has done to his body more generally. I mean, I want you to think about something. Think about how many, and I'm not being facetious with this. Think about how many hangovers this guy has powered through.
So there you go. That's another important thing, right? So all you 40-year-olds out there that are still clubbing, right? Obviously, clubbing for most people means drinking, right? I mean, obviously there's dancing going on. There's people that are, hanging out in clubs for social reasons or whatever, but ultimately it's all for drinking. And when you drink, yeah, it just does nothing but damage your insides. So
Like, and what this does to your organs, what this does to your brain, what this does to your connective tissue over time, to say nothing of what the anabolic steroids and the HGH could, again, according to New York Times reporting anyway, what that all does to the integrity of connective tissue, and moreover, just your ability for your body to function properly. Like, there is a bill in life due if you wish to live that way. And that bill just came due. And yeah, you could say it's dumb luck or whatever, misfortune, however you wish to describe it. The first one that he threw. Yeah, dude, the first one that he threw. He he looked to me for the first time truly old and enfeebled. That's what he looked like to me. He looked fucking old. As an old dude, I welcome to the club, fella. Like, you're old now. You're fucking old now. And you just can't do what you used to do, particularly with that amount of time off, particularly coming off catastrophic injury, particularly with, again, according to the New York Times reporting, anabolic drug use and HGH, to say nothing of what the drugs of recreation have done, to say nothing of how much, again, we're talking about the margin of error with your athletic preparation being so important. All the times he's probably fucked up his sleep and done God only knows on what, drinking all night, among other things, powering through all that. How could you possibly think you're going to arrive at 38 years of age, get in the octagon, and try something like that, and not realize that's an enormous risk factor? He is old and broken now.
All right. So if you want to see the rest of that video, right, it is on Luke Thomas's regular page. Remember, not the Luke Thomas Get Political page. It's his regular page. And the name of that video is Conor McGregor's Mystic Mac era is over. Okay. So he hammered some really important points there, right? He mentions the lack of sleep that he may have accumulated over the years, right? Look, sleep and athletic performance goes hand in hand. Okay, looking young and being able to look vibrant, sleep has a lot of factors determining into that. So as a result, Luke Thomas is absolutely correct about his assessment with Conor McGregor and the accumulative damage that he has taken over the years. So there is a reason why Khabib has maintained being on top, and there's a reason why there's a significant downfall after his career in terms of just, I don't know, not caring, not really, putting up the same type of effort as he did, because there was a lot of effort that he did to do that. But ultimately, Khabib can still come back and be a top level fighter. You want to know why? It's not because he's maintaining a certain level of training that he did when he was competing. It's because he maintained a healthy lifestyle that makes it easy for him to go into a training camp and also allow his body to perform in a way that he knows how it performs, under the best conditions. Scandabigo says Tyson couldn't walk and made tons of money pillow fighting. Okay, very interesting. And with that note, that is the unfortunate end of many fighters is ending up in pillow fighting championships or bare knuckle, right? I.e. Conor McGregor. So with that in mind, guys, listen, that is all that I have for this one right now. I really wanted to come in here, give about a good account of an hour to this particular subject, give you guys all my thoughts on it, all my analyzations in terms of just how I see it from a spiritual point of view, but also from a sports point of view, but also from a social point of view that sort of has correlations to religious matters. So we kind of covered a little bit of everything here. And with that in mind, guys, good night. It is past midnight here in the West Coast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Great late night show with you guys. Love to do it again. I'm talking about like maybe late night shows like this, although sometimes you get a little bit tired and you can't do it, but I did it this time, so I did it for now. And with that in mind, like and subscribe. See you guys in the next one, inshallah. Yeah, great show. Great show indeed. Hammered all the right points that we needed on that one.